Hello and welcome back. Right, as promised, if you are paying attention to me, doubtful, it's time for my second loadout video, which means I've hit 100 subscribers. Yay, go me! I'm less noob than I was already noobed. Anyway, today is all about Nekros, and his loadout I have named I Am Death, because, well, it's Nekros, why not? It's all about death and bringing them back to life, so not so much zombies. I have built the way he works for me at least is in 3 separate tiers because he is my favourite frame. I love mixing him up a little bit, and depending on what faction I'm fighting and what level I'm fighting, I've basically got 3 different loadouts for him. Not just the config for the frame, but the way in which I use him, as well as the weapons I use on him. So, Tier 1 is Braton Prime and Ack Brunt, levels 1 to 100, specialising in more infested targets. Tier 2 is Zenith and Dual Camus Prime, levels 100 to 200, specialising in more corpus orientated targets. And the final tier is Tigris Prime and Galatine Prime, specialising in whatever the hell you want up to whatever level you can get to. Honestly, the overall effect of how I've built him enables me to do, or at least I find it a lot more fun, and I find it a little bit more roleplay if you're into that sort of thing. You can interact with things a little bit more depending on how you want to play. So that offers a bit more customizations, and it's just, well, for me I just find it a bit more of an interesting way to play because I just generally love playing Nekros. However, there are a few flaws with it as well as obvious drawbacks. Now, the first one being Zenith. It's the 500-day login reward, so I'm assuming not everyone has that yet, for obvious reasons. And if you like the idea of what I'm doing here and you want to use Zenith, then you're going to have to get to the 500-day login reward. Until then, the main reason I have picked pretty much all of these weapons is they have a decent hybrid build available to them, if not massive status with slash procs. The reason I've gone for slash procs is because the more things you can cut apart into tiny little chunks, the more desecrate works. The more desecrate works, the more health orbs you have. The more health orbs you have, using equilibrium and health conversion, you're near enough immortal. Obviously you can still die, and certain things will kick out a hell of a lot of damage towards you, but you've got stacks of armour from health conversion. It stacks up to 3 times at 450 a piece, which is pretty darn good. Energy orbs and health orbs combined with equilibrium will give you health regardless, so you're constantly gaining health in theory. And then using Despoil to in effect chip away at your health every time you desecrate something by constantly taking in health orbs. You're constantly gaining armor, because using health conversion, when you get hit, it will consume a stack after 3 seconds. So you're constantly getting hit, but you're constantly returning the armor stack because you're constantly eating, gaining, consuming, picking up health orbs. So it kind of is a win-win situation. So, in effect, there's quite a lot of armour and damage mitigation going on there. You know, if you use Vitality or Rejuvenation as your aura perhaps, or even Stand United, this will increase your overall EHP so that you can actually go into higher levels. And then if you add in Shield of Shadows to actually get even more damage mitigation coming out, Nekros at that point can, in effect, hold his own as one of the tankiest frames in the game at this point. Obviously you are still subject to quite a bit of damage. It does depend on how quickly you can get your shadows out, the rate in which you can kill and then desecrate. So it also depends on it. Actually it really is quite a complex frame. You've got to get a good mix of duration as well as range as well as power strength. Now, range isn't too much of a major problem simply for the fact that you can run closer to the targets to desecrate them with using your despoil augment, hopefully, to get more and more health orbs, because we like health orbs. But if you don't have that much range, like admittedly I don't have on this room, you've got to put yourself in quite dangerous situations, because you've got to move out of the way of your comfort area where you are protected by your shadows that are also mitigating quite a lot of your damage. So for me he's quite unique in how you play him, how you react with him, how you engage overall in combat as well. I mean, you've got your one ability which has a massive knockback ragdoll effect. His two ability is seriously good CC, as well as it strips armor. His third ability is great for support and utility, as well as just farming, and it really does still annoy me that's all people see Nekros as. Nekros is so much more than a third ability. So much more. And you've got a fourth ability which acts as CC to an effect, because they've got an increased threat level, so generally speaking they shouldn't be attacking, the enemy shouldn't be attacking you or your allies, it should be attacking your shadows. If you've got a decent enough power strength, depending on what targets you've picked, because if you pick your targets, bombards, heavy gunners, corpus techs, if you've got a good power strength on your frame, on your build, this will then bolster their damage, and in effect Nekros then can actually be a pretty good DPS frame. So it all depends on how you want to work it. The downsides to him being, particularly with the build that I have here, is you do have shocking efficiency, so you've got to find a way to keep your energy levels up, as well as killing efficiently, effectively, being able to hopefully desecrate a few things on the way. I mean, I have shocking range on this build. I can switch a few things around. I don't necessarily have to have some of the mods on there. I mean, I use natural talent just so I can press 4 a bit quicker, and 2 because I like to keep things running away in a circle while I keep my minions pinning them down into the corners, because I'm an evil creature, mwahaha. But it all depends on how you want to play him. There are a lot, and I do mean a lot, of worthwhile and amazing builds out there for him. You just need to find the one that works for you. I already do have a Nekros build up. This is to show what sort of weapons and how I play him. So overall, really, he's a great frame. But like I just said, this video is about how I play him and with what weapons. So let's get into the flip side of it, shall we? Now, Nekros' greatest trick, admittedly, despite the fact that, as I said, it's not all about his free ability, it's all about how you utilise that third ability. Now, if you can cut an enemy in half, that's not one body you're desecrating, that's 2. If you can cut a leg off, that's another one. If you can cut an arm off, that's another one. There are some wacky things that his desecrate can do. So, you want to get some slash damage on there. Seriously. Braton Prime is one of the first weapons I used with Nekros. It's got an okay-ish status chance. Mainly slash damage, add a bit of viral, perhaps corrosive, depending on how you're feeling. And you've got a pretty good low-level status weapon. At that point, I also used Ack Brunt. Now, Ack Brunt I absolutely love. I think it's one of my favourite melee weapons of all time. And it can go to some pretty good levels. It absolutely wrecks Infested as well. So that's another good slash weapon for you there. Zenith, admittedly, isn't too dissimilar or better or worse than Braton Prime. I simply like it for the alt fire, which admittedly I don't use too often, but it's nice just to be able to just pop a massive round inside a heavy gunner's head and just be like, you're now my slave, press 4, bring him back, and I just find it a little bit amusing. With that, I also used Dual Camus Prime. Now these were probably the first, when I first started playing, the first metal weapon I had, and they wrecked. Since some of the new mods have come out, such as Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds, Drifting Contact, you can see where I'm going with this. They just became absolutely brutal, like beyond brutal. I would actually say they're still classed as meta, and for depending on how you want to play, how you want to do it, Galley P can do one. Although speaking of Galley P, Galatine Prime as well, and Tigris Prime, if I find myself wanting to do a survival, or I'm in a group of people wanting to do a survival for several hours, Tigris Prime and Galatine Prime are where it's at. Now, I do have separate videos for the builds of these, but just to do a recap, these are the builds for my Braton Prime, my Ack Brunt. There will be a link to the actual build videos down below, and then onto Zenith and Dual Camus Prime. Again, quick recap of the builds here. There will be more links down below. And the current builds I am using on my Nekros, the only one that has changed is my Shield of Shadow build. There will be, again, fucking parrot going on here, a link to the build video I have for Nekros in the description below if you wish to watch that. If not, don't worry too much about it. However, the main build I actually use for Nekros is config A right here. I use this in conjunction with Naramon. At the moment I'm trying to switch over to config B, which is the build I've been using throughout this video, because as we know, the focus trees will be changing. Naramon might be doing one. Config C is the build I use for Law of Retribution only, and in the video as well I have been using Pandero. This secondary on my Nekros doesn't change. I love this. It works absolutely beautifully on Nekros, I think, and I utilise it throughout all 3 tiers of my Nekros. Anyway, that's me. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you sooner than I see that infested guy. Ta-ra!